Good evening. Welcome to the Monrovia Unified School District School Board meeting. I'd like to open the meeting at 7:09 p.m. Thank you for your patience for those of you that were waiting at home. I'd like to bring up Dr. Lily Jarvis to introduce our Monroe student who will be leading us in the pledge tonight. Dr. Jarvis? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank you. I'm using a different computer tonight. Good evening, Board President Tarvanti, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Tarosian, and all of our magnificent Monrovians tuning in this evening. It is both my pleasure and my honor to introduce two mighty Monroe Lions to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Micah Leon and Elia Whitaker Leon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Both of you did a great job. And I believe Dr. Jarvis has a little bit more to say tonight.
Yes, sure, Shona, can you present the slide? So it's a wonderful opportunity to share with you some of the work that our Renaissance leaders at Monroe have been very busy doing during virtual learning. You know, as you know that the goal of the Renaissance program in schools is to really foster leadership and building a healthy climate and culture at our schools. And I'd like to share a couple of the things that they've been very busy doing. Next slide. Our Renaissance leaders have been working together to produce our pride gatherings. So typically during the school year, we have, live pride gatherings and we recognize our star students. And now this has become a virtual phenomenon, and our students look forward to our virtual pride gatherings every month. Next slide. They have also taken on various endeavors within our community, Kindness Rocks being one of the ones that I chose to highlight this evening because they encourage and build community by leaving rocks in our neighborhood, in our school community, with messages of kindness, hope, and pride. Next slide. And one of the things that I'm incredibly proud of is that this year, for the first time, our 4th and 5th grade Renaissance leaders are supporting our virtual resource center. Typically, our resource center happens obviously on campus in brick and mortar time. But now what we're doing is we're taking our very able and bilingual students and pairing them up with younger students, like say in TK and Kinder, to provide opportunities for Spanish language in our virtual resource center. Another thing they're doing is they're really trying to engage our student learners, and they've created this channel called Boredom Buster Videos. And so they create opportunities and they share them with our students to really take some of that fatigue from virtual learning and really entertain them. And then continuing with the tradition of our canned food drive. As a principal of Monroe, I just want to say that I am incredibly proud of the work that our students have been doing to continue some of the traditions that we started some time ago and that we take honor and pride in. Thank you very much.
Maritza, you're on mute.
Thank you, Celine. I would have gone a little bit longer, but Dr. Jarvis, thank you very much for being here, and thank you to your two students for doing the pledge tonight. I'm a big proponent of the Renaissance program, so thank you for everything that you're doing there and presenting tonight. Have a good evening. All right, before we get on to our the business at hand, we would like to open tonight's meeting welcoming the newest member of the MUSD family, Henry Strong IV, born to Clifton Middle School teacher Chelsea Strong and her husband Hank Strong. The Strong family welcomed their baby on January 25th, weighing in at 7 pounds 11 ounces and 20 inches long. Congratulations, Strong family. And to the new family member. What a cutie. All right. I'd like the record to reflect all board members are present. We did hold a closed session and we took no reportable action. Dr. Tarosian, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are. We would like to pull action item 2 from the board policy 7310, the naming or renaming of a facility. We'd like to pull that from this agenda and bring it back after we've done a little more research on the policy itself. And I've already received some input about some changes that need to be made. So today's discussion will be would be premature.
Thank you, Dr. Tarosian. So noted the change to the agenda. Next, we have the minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting on January 27th. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Huff, can you call the roll, please?
Board Member Hammond,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Golar,
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie,
Yes.
Board President Travanti.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Next, recognitions and communications. The Board of Education and the Chamber of Commerce would like to congratulate the following employees on being named Monrovia Unified School District Employees of the Month. And they are Nancy Kemp, Instructional Assistant from Clifton, Nicholas Carday, Teacher, Clifton, and Felicia Richardson from High School, and Kim Kirkendall, also from Monrovia High School. And I'll go ahead and introduce Dr. Jackson so you can do the introductions. No? Was it, am I introducing? Okay, Dr. Jackson? Darvin Jackson.
Thank you.
We have two Dr. Jacksons in the house. I apologize.
We will work that one out going forward. Board President Travanti, members of the board,
Thank you.
Tarosian, and community. This evening, we are honored to recognize and celebrate our exceptional classified and certificated employees of the month from both Clifton Middle School and Monrovia High School for their commitment to our community, the district, and most importantly, our students. So with no further ado, please welcome Principal Jennifer Jackson, who is now Dr. Jackson. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. Good evening, Board President Travanti, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Tarosian, District Administration, and the entire Monrovia community. It is an honor and a privilege to serve as principal of Clifton Middle School, and I am so proud to be here tonight to honor two very amazing and special people. These two individuals tonight were chosen by our faculty because of their work ethic that absolutely stands out in this very crazy year. I'm going to begin with our classified employee of the month, Miss Nancy Kemp. Nancy joined our Clifton team just 2 years ago, as her job is shared between the middle schools. We consider Nancy to be invaluable for so many reasons. Nancy is an instructional assistant, but that title does not do her justice. She is first and foremost dedicated to helping every single child and their families. She works tirelessly to make connections and provide support at any hour of the day, and I mean that. She's a critical thinker by nature, constantly innovating to create new supports, programs, and events that benefit and celebrate all kids. Myself and Assistant Principal Morrison rely on her expertise every single day because she truly is an out-of-the-box thinker. No problem is impossible to solve if you include Nancy in your troubleshooting. Here are some things the Clifton faculty shared about her. In all my 23 years in MUSD, she's hands down the best master scheduler. Her knack with compiling numbers and data are incredible. Nancy Kemp is a rock. She seems to play a vital role in so many different parts of our school. But what stands out most to me is how she has a solid but heartfelt relationship with so many of our Cubs who are often struggling to make good choices. She has that amazing gift of personality where she can be firm and caring all at the same time. Nancy is a gifted listener with calm, quiet, and calculated thoughts. And she is absolutely the master at the master schedule. Nancy is incredible. Her dedication to students in Monrovia and to the staff at Clifton and Santa Fe are second to none. Nancy inspires, she motivates and supports, and she does this in a variety of ways and compiles data in a way that assists the school in improvement to our instructional program. Additionally, while she continues the work of mastering the master schedule, she's so instrumental when it comes to the smooth operation of Clifton Middle School. We are proud and honored to work alongside her. Nancy is a support system. She is constantly backing up the teachers in every way possible in order to help and reach students that need that support. She is relentless and she will not give up. Nancy, on behalf of the entire Clifton faculty, congratulations on being named MUSD's Clifton Employee of the Month. It is truly an honor to work alongside you.
Thank you very much for all the wonderful words. It's been a real pleasure and an honor to work at both schools. I have learned a lot more at Clifton, just being a part of Clifton, which I never do for my first years there. And working in the district with all of the, I've worked a lot with the high school and stuff too this year, and it's met a lot of people that's made a lot of connections to helping me do my job better.
Congratulations, Nancy. It's wonderful. Well deserved.
And now for our certificated employee of the month, teacher Nick Carday. Nick is still in the early stages of his teaching career, but it goes unnoticed because of his level of involvement in the Clifton school community. Nick has a knack for people, which is why he steps forward, taking on leadership roles to bring about new and innovative ideas to the school. He serves as an English teacher and one of our 2 iCoaches, offering instructional technology support to his colleagues within and across departments. He is constantly evaluating how things can be improved, how things can be done more efficiently, and is comfortable sharing these ideas with colleagues and administration alike. His enthusiasm and passion for kids, especially on the topic of educational equity, lies deep within his core beliefs. And Clifton is so lucky to have a teacher like him, finding and identifying the gifts and talents of every child, no matter how difficult the road. In the words of the Clifton faculty, I love his smile, enthusiasm, charisma, and willingness to help others. His attitude and being are contagious. Nick is my techno wizard. I can ask him any question and he always has the answer. Moreover, he never gets grumpy about it. I love his boundless enthusiasm, his open-mindedness, and his sense of fun. He's a great team member, but more importantly, he's just a super nice human being. Mr. Carday is an influencer. His energy and passion for teaching is contagious, and he's always excited to share ideas. He is beloved by students and inspires them to read more, write more, think, and dream more. Nick, gifted with tireless energy, enthusiasm, and caring patience for all students, can creatively capture the young minds of students so they in turn will experience success and grow in self-confidence. Mr. Carday is such a leader on our campus. His instructional approaches and wizardry with instructional technology are second to none and make learning accessible to all. Mr. Carday's dedication to making Clifton a better place is apparent through his constant support to not only the students at Clifton, but the staff as well. His generosity of his personal time to help improve practice and connect students to Clifton are honorable, to say the least. Clifton is a better place because of him, And for that, we are grateful and proud to have him as a member of our staff. He is so helpful and so resourceful. Sincere is the word that comes to mind immediately when referring to Nick. As an iCoach, he is sincere about wanting to solve all of my tech issues without the heavy sigh of, "You again?" As a teacher, his enthusiasm is not forced or contrived. He is sincerely excited about student progress. As an innovator, he searches constantly for new ways to engage students. As a friend, he sincerely wants to be there to talk, assist, support, vent, or celebrate. On behalf of the entire Clifton faculty, Nick, congratulations on being named MUSD's Certificated Clifton Employee of the Month. You are a rock star teacher, and we are so grateful for all you do.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. I appreciate all the kind words. It just means so much, and I'd like to thank you, Mr. Morrison. I see that Miss Velasco and Miss Ayala are all here to support. I'd also like to thank my wife. She's here, kind of watching along, and I wouldn't be able to do a lot of this without her. So I just want to say thank you to the entire Clifton staff. It means so much to have you guys vote for me for this award and just see the work. And I just want to let you guys know that I appreciate you so much. Miss Ayala, you're I'm over here trying to do things and you're always pushing me further. Miss Velasco, working with the soccer team as the AD, as a coach, as everything on campus. You guys are really the ones that kind of keep pushing me in that direction. So I just appreciate you all so much, and thank you for this honor.
Mr. Carday.
Hi, Georgie. How are you?
Looks like you have a fan here for sure. Congratulations, Nicholas.
Book club isn't until next week, just so everyone knows. So
She just wanted to say congratulations.
Thank you. Tell her and Evelyn that I said hello.
Well deserved, Nicholas. Congratulations.
Congratulations once again, Nick and Nancy. So with no further ado, I'd like to bring forward from Monrovia High School, Wildcat Land, Principal Kirk McGinnis.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Good evening, Board President Travanti, members of the school board, Dr. Terosian, district administrators, and our entire Monrovia community. It's an honor and privilege to be principal at Monrovia High School. And tonight, an opportunity to introduce to you two very special Wildcats. Up first is Miss Felicia Richardson. Felicia, go ahead and open up your camera if you haven't done so already. I want everybody to see you as I embarrass you, as I read about you. It is with great honor and pleasure that I introduce you to Miss Felicia Richardson, who is our amazing Wildcat Classified Employee of the Month. Felicia is a true Wildcat at heart. In fact, is a product of Monrovia Unified School District and a Wildcat alumni who has chosen to continue her connection to our school community. In fact, she is continuing that tradition with her two children. Wyatt graduated from the high school last year in 2020, and her daughter Kyla will be graduating this June with the class of 2021. And I'm sure their diplomas will be framed right next to hers. She began in 2007 and was first known to us at Monrovia High School as one of our attendance clerks who helped manage the daily operations of our student attendance, parent communication, school reception, answering phone calls, and assisting with keeping our families informed, supported, and heard. This year, Felicia has switched roles and is now our new school registrar, tackling an equally important role for our school with the same attention to detail and customer service that she has always embraced. Felicia's colleagues acknowledge her great ability to listen. That's a skill that's so essential with working with so many people. Her keen understanding of task prioritization, and of course, at the top of our list of great attributes is her contagious laugh and her bubbly personality. There is not a potluck or a school activity that happens without her. We look to her for valuable input on school projects, and the wise ones of us listen to her words of wisdom. Felicia, on behalf of the staff and family here at Monrovia High School, thank you for all you do and congratulations.
Congratulations, Ms. Richardson. Did you want to say a few words?
Thank you. I'm really not very good at public speaking. I just wanted to say thank you to Kirk for all your kind words. Now I'm feeling a little emotional. I was not planning on that. And I really want to thank everybody who supported me during the transition. Trying to take on a new position during a pandemic is not something I would recommend, but I survived, and I'm just really grateful for everyone who helped me and everyone who nominated me. It feels really good to be recognized. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Congratulations.
Great job. And she's doing a wonderful job as our registrar. Thank you, Felicia.
You're welcome.
Okay. Up next is Kim Kirkendall. Kim, if you haven't done so already, if you'd open up your camera so we can see you as we're bragging about you. There she is. It is with equal honor and pleasure that I introduce you to Ms. Kim Kirkendall, who is our fabulous Wildcat Certificated Employee of the Month. Kim is also a product of Monrovia Unified Schools and a Monrovia High School alumni who coincidentally also began her employment in the district in 2007. We didn't plan this. It just happened. This was coincidentally. We were so fortunate to have Kim be reunited with her school in her role this time as a classroom teacher in our special education program, working with our group of students in our life skills program. We all know what an essential component of a classroom teacher is, and that is to create a safe, focused, and collaborative learning environment. And Kim has done an exceptional job in doing just that. Her students are challenged to improve their social and academic skills and provide individualized support to reach their goals. Her high level of parent engagement and open two-way communication provides a model for all of us to strive for, and her ability to coordinate her classroom instructional assistants is exceptional. Her colleagues say this about her, quote, "Kim is totally awesome. She is such a pleasure to work with, so professional and a great advocate for our students. Kim cares so much about her kids and will do anything for them," end quote. While we are on campus, you may catch Kim alongside one of her students working the coffee cart, greeting them at the front doors of the school, and facilitating classroom learning that matches real world situations. And during distance learning, she's adapted and figured out how to provide that exact same special connection with all of her kids and their families. Kim, on behalf of our entire Monrovia High School family, we celebrate you and are honored to call you our Certificated Employee of the Month. Congratulations, Kim.
Congratulations, Kim.
Thank you guys for all the kind words. And I'm thankful I couldn't do what I do without my students, and they're just great. And I owe so much to them. And without my aides supporting me, I don't know what I would do. They've been excellent, and they've made me as good as I am this year, I guess. And just my family and my whole SPED team at the high school and just throughout the district, because we are really close group of SPED teachers. So thank you.
Kim, if I may, can I embarrass you just a little bit?
Okay.
Over the years, I've been in a number of your classrooms. And what is not conveyed in the words that Mr. McGinnis used is the relationship that the students have with you. You are able to touch some of the hardest people to get to in our school system, and their special ed kids and all the different needs that they have. You have the innate ability to be able to connect with them. And that is not something that you learn, it's a gift that you're given. And we appreciate the job that you do. And I didn't want to let a moment go by. I have watched those kids with you as you're getting on buses, and I've watched you when you're over at Wild Rose, dealing with kids who are hard to deal with. And you're magnificent, and thank you. And this is a well-deserved honor because you truly do make our district better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you feel embarrassed now? That was fantastic.
Just a little.
Great job. Thank you so much, Kim, and for everything that you do. All right, well, that concludes our Employee of the Month presentation. Congratulations to all those that were recognized tonight. You are stellar examples and you are appreciated. Thank you, Mr. McGinnis. We'll go ahead and move on to board member reports. Ms. Lockerbie.
Thank you, President Travanti. I wanted to take a moment to thank the Monrovia Duarte Black Alumni Association for their presentation last Saturday in one in a series of many for the celebration of Black History Month. Saturday, they featured 3 families, Monrovia families, the Parkers, the Fishers, and the Dixons. And as a friend of mine said who was watching the presentation as well, it's like being a fly on the wall in a family reunion. And it was wonderful to hear them reflect on their many, many years here in Monrovia. One of the things that was most compelling to me is through their stories and through the history, realizing that these families, there were members of these families that were hyphenated Monrovians or hyphenated students. And to further the realization that that hyphen is removed. They are our neighbors, they are our students without the hyphen. And they are Monrovia families and wonderful families. And it was wonderful to hear all about that and to realize how far we have come as a city and as a school district. So that was a pleasure to participate in. And I know that there will be several more activities throughout the month. So I know we're all looking forward to more of those. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lockerbie, for your board report. Appreciate that. And I believe there were no other board reports except for me. So we'll move on to mine. As you all know, Dr. Tarosian has publicly announced her well-deserved retirement and will be leaving us at the end of the school year. Dr. Tarosian's shoes will be difficult to fill, but nonetheless, the board must begin the vital tasks of selecting a new superintendent. In light of this, I was able to take a California School Board Masters in Governance course this past Friday and Saturday on HR issues, which included the process of hiring a new superintendent. I shared much of what I learned with the other board members and feel confident we are in a good position to move forward. During this class with other school board members throughout California, there was a side conversation in a breakout room comparing how many school board meetings they held in the 2020 calendar year and the challenges the pandemic brought on. After class, I was a bit curious and went to the MUSD website as well as other neighboring districts, some comparative in size to Monrovia Unified and other larger districts to find out just how many meetings we did have and how it compared to local districts. It was pretty enlightening. I knew we were busy, but I didn't realize how much. I thought you might be interested to see where we landed, and we landed at the top. We held 41 public meetings last year, which encompassed regularly scheduled meetings in addition to many special board meetings. For several months, we held weekly meetings. There was a lot of hard work that went into all these meetings we held, so kudos to Dr. Tarosian and your staff. Kudos to our former school board to their commitment to transparency. Transparency with our thought process, discussions, questions, challenges, and next steps during this extraordinary year due to the pandemic and what this district is committed to. These meetings are also provided the public more opportunities to provide public comment and a better understanding of the process, challenges, and the challenges the district faced. I'd also like to thank former President Rob Hammond for directing Dr. Tarosian to have the weekly meetings during a critical time of starting the school year in distance learning. I suspect once LA County moves out of purple tier, and into red tier information and guidance from LA County Department of Health and the Los Angeles County Office of Education will be changing rapidly, and decisions will need to be made locally. We may have a need to have more special meetings whenever that may be. I am confident when I say the board you see before you is just as committed as our previous board. I knew we had a lot of meetings, but this visual really makes an impact. And that is the end of my report. Thank you. Okay, and we'll move on to our student board member, Ellie Hendry. Hi, Ellie.
Hi. Good evening, President Travanti, board members, Dr. Throsian, members of cabinet, and friends and family of the Monrovia community. I would like to report this evening on the benefits of being a student at Mountain Park School. Many high school students, like myself, are balancing jobs, schoolwork, and family obligations. This learning model, along with the grace and flexibility of our staff members, provide has allowed many like myself to continue to thrive and learn while balancing different responsibilities in our lives. Students at other schools in our district are on Zoom meetings learning live from their teachers on a daily basis. Even though we are fortunate enough to have the technology resources that we have, not all students thrive in a virtual classroom. Between Google Hangouts and Zoom meetings, some may find it challenging to handle so much screen time while learning. If you have any questions about the options our district offers regarding distance learning, please reach out to one of your principal or one of your administrators. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hendry, for your report. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
And then we'll move on to Superintendent report, Dr. Throsian.
Thank you, President Travanti, members of the board. Last meeting, we had Barbara Golar present in detail many of the activities that we had planned. Oops, let me start with, there we go. At the middle school and high school level for Black History Month, the Monrovia Doherty Black Alumni Association will help students learn more about their family tree and tracing their family history, just as board member Lockerbie shared a little earlier. Another fun feature is the folktale readings, which I believe Ms. Lockerbie also participated in by being one of the readers. So that too is very exciting. We look forward to seeing that reading selection. Our 8th annual Elementary Art Festival will be virtual, and there's going to be a video that will be shared the week of February 22nd, and an art masterclass with Ron Husband on Wednesday, February 24th, for our 4th and 5th graders. He was the first African-American animator for Disney and is one of the artists behind many of those cherished classics that we've all seen. So it's very exciting. And again, we so value the partnership with the Monrovia Doherty Black Alumni Association. Also, I wanted to just bring to your attention the program that we had highlighted. Was it last meeting or the meeting before, with our gaming team? We had Monrovia High School teacher Anthony Carlson and senior Charlie Heather, who just won awards, be featured in a podcast to discuss the gaming app, Red Dungeon, and the school's game development team, Forge Interactive, and the importance of inclusivity in game design, the opportunities that it brings to our students in this burgeoning field. So it's very exciting. I just wanted to call everybody's attention to this wonderful opportunity and this great program. We're fortunate to have them. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Throsian. We'll move on to the public comments section of the agenda. The Board of Education encourages public participation and invites you to share your views on school business. Ms. Huff, do we have any public comments?
Yes, Board President Travanti, we have one public comment tonight. This public comment comes from Frank Giambattista. Mr. Giambattista writes, I'm submitting the following questions for the board's consideration. These are follow-up questions from topics discussed on January 27th. Question 1, During the last board meeting on January 27th, Dr. Therosian made the comment that Monrovia Unified had not submitted for a waiver to return to in-person instruction for grades TK through 2. The infection rates in Monrovia have remained very low compared to the rest of the county. Will the district be submitting for this waiver urgently to get kids back to school? Question 2. Dr. Therosian also stated that she was confident that the district would not be ready with the hybrid model plan by February 1st. Why, after 12 months, are we still not ready to return kids safely to the classroom when there are clearly processed steps and data to guide this from other parts of the state and even right here in the San Gabriel Valley? It feels like we are further behind than we should be. When will this plan be ready? Question 3. Given that MUSD is being forced to take a loan, which includes interest and a $20,000 fee to pay the teachers and bills for the district, I'd like to know what steps, if any, were taken to challenge Sacramento on this IOU approach to education in California. I'd like to know we didn't just take that answer without some kind of escalation. There must be a path to appeal this. Question 4. Will a budget be published on how this loan will be allocated along with plans to make up the difference of interest and fees to satisfy the terms of repayment? This should include the terms of the loan and repayment period being considered. Question 5. Will future board meetings have a forum that will allow for questions in real time for topics to be clarified? Thank you for your time and your consideration. Frank Giambattista.
Thank you for your questions, Mr. Bautista. Do we have contact information for him besides the email? Did he provide that?
He did not, but
okay. All right. Then his questions will be addressed by staff and they'll be in contact. Thank you, Mr. Bautista.
Ms. Travanti, can you ask that his email be sent to all of us as well?
Absolutely. Please copy or send the actual email over to the board members.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. I suspect a couple of these questions may be answered during Dr. Therosian's report a little bit in the information report. So thank you. Ms. Huff, do we have any public comments for items, any other public comments for items on the agenda or off the agenda?
We do not.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. Appreciate it. And now we're on to the informational reports and presentation for the teaching and learning pandemic update from Dr. Therosian.
Thank you, President Travanti, members of the board. Let's just get right into it. And I have asked Drs. Jackson and Kaiser to assist with the presentation. First slide, simply identifying all of the activities allowed on campuses by the Los Angeles Department of Public Health currently. They are the learning pods, targeted specialized services, in-person assessments, standardized testing, athletic conditioning, and in-person instruction for TK2 through waivers that had been approved. This program has now sunsetted. No new waivers are being accepted. Next slide, please. The activities that we do have on our campuses include the learning pods. We have in-person assessments, and again, we'll continue to update the numbers as they change so that we have for you some the most recent information. We've also begun conducting in-person assessments for our English learners. Next slide, please. Athletic conditioning, as well as the PSAT that was held at Monrovia High School. So these are the activities that we have on our campuses. And next slide. I thought I would update. Highlighted is information that changed since the last time we met. So since January 27th, these are now, this is now the new information and schedules for athletic conditioning. This includes fall sports and next slide, please. Spring sports. So I'll continue to update each time. Next slide, please. One of the things we committed to was providing information on the transmission rate on our campuses. And I'm happy to report that the transmission rates on campuses have remained the same in terms of student to staff, or staff to staff, or student to student. We have unfortunately seen an increase in the number of staff members who have tested positive since the last board meeting. These would be community transmissions outside of our schools and outside of their being on our campuses. We take safety very seriously, have the protocols in place, but again, we know that nothing is foolproof. And so we are continuing to be vigilant in this area. Next slide. In terms of the reopening process, schools that are in the purple tier may reopen after we have a COVID safety plan publicly posted on our website, which we now do, and when the transmission rate in the purple tier for grades TK2 is below 25 per 100,000. The latest numbers that I saw yesterday were that the transmission rate in Los Angeles County was 31 per 100,000. So it's on a decline, which is very good because it means that our loved ones are healthier. However, no schools are allowed to open at this time because we are still above that 25. Our intent is, in working through the process, to be prepared when we get to 25 and it is safe to reopen. Next slide, please. I was talking only about elementary schools. What about secondary schools? No secondary schools in Los Angeles County may reopen in-person instruction while we remain in purple tier. When the county reaches tier 2, the red tier, secondary schools will have the opportunity to reopen in person, assuming the safety plans are in place and that protocols are followed. I want to just note here that to reach the red tier or tier 2, the transmission rate is 5 to 7 per 100,000. Next slide, please. In terms of our hybrid model development, we re-identified our priorities because it became very clear that our secondary schools would be opening much later than our elementary. And so we doubled our efforts with elementary in order to develop a hybrid model of elementary learning so that when it is safe to do so and we are allowed to do so, we have a plan in place. Our secondary model and our secondary task force is working on making more effective use of the instructional time through distance learning. And one of the things that we also heard through one of the recent calls with the Department of Public Health is that we would be receiving some model recommendations from the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. And so we follow those guidelines and make sure to incorporate them in any of our planning once we receive them. Our interest when developing a hybrid model is to ensure siblings remain in the same cohort and to create schedules that can move from distance to hybrid should that become necessary. And we understand that there will be disruptions to the current schedule. Nothing comes in even packages, and our intent will be to minimize those disruptions to class assignments because we understand and appreciate the relationship between students and teachers formed by this time. Next slide. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Kaiser, who has been doing the good work with our elementary task force.
Good evening, Board President Travanti, Board Superintendent Terosian and community. It has been a privilege and a pleasure to work with the elementary task force. We started our work actually last spring, working on the distance learning model. And then we began to look at what does it take to come back to school in a hybrid model. There are many different models for elementary school. And so we've had many, many discussions, and through our work, we were dealing with lots of intricacies in schooling of young children, in the distance model changes that needed to be made along the way. And then in January, we decided to organize our group around equitable groups to represent each stakeholder group and from each school. So we have, to that end, one teacher from each school, one parent from each school, one administrator from each school, a board liaison, 2 district administrators, and 3 Monrovia Teachers Association representatives. And with this balanced group, we've been able to do some work really looking at our stakeholders' desires and the student needs. I also want to share that as we began the work last spring, we worked really hard in our elementary task force to keep our focus on the parameters of the Senate bills and what came down from Sacramento, what was required of us as our framework for the work that we did. It wasn't based on what we thought or what our feelings were. We started with the strong parameters, and then we began to look at the needs of our community and the needs of our students. Next slide, please. No, that's it. And so the progression of our work, we in January began to examine several sample models. They weren't models that we were adhering to or that we were promoting. They were simple samples that we had collected from other districts that were involved in the same work. We also listed what is it that our students need. We realized that as a group representing these 3 stakeholder groups, the bottom line is that we are all here representing the student group. So what are their needs? And these interests were expressed, they were listed, and then our school groups met in triads. So during the course of a week, principal, parent, and teacher met together in a smaller group so that the voices could all be heard and the opinions and the work could be done in a conversational environment. And so as these discussions happened, the groups came back to the large group and shared what had happened in their small groups, focusing on what was positive for young children. And as we looked at that, we began to look for what are the commonalities from school to school. Was there anything in common? And of course there were, because we were looking at it through the lens of what is it that our students need. So the large group met, we shared the positive elements, and then decided to have an ad hoc group from the large group, a smaller representative group, to actually create a model from the input that was given during that meeting. And that's the work that's going on right now. That model draft is being developed. And in our next meeting, the large group will be receiving a model draft that we're hoping can move forward as the model that we will use here in Monrovia. So we're getting close. We're just not quite there yet. Next slide, please. So what are some of the next steps? The cabinet, under the leadership of Dr. Terosian, had a meeting the other day, and we began to say, boy, what are some of the things that we need to do to get our elementary schools open? And again, we went from the guidance from the Public Health Department in California. And it's the newest guidance, the guidance that came out on January 14th. And so we took that into consideration with the work that we've already been doing. And we began to make a list. Some of the things that we need to focus on now are finalizing that schedule. That is the structure that will move us forward. The principals will be preparing the campuses to return to school physically, the signage, the placement of furniture, things that we sort of take for granted in a classroom that we've always done need to be done a little bit differently. learning pod and classroom inventory and assignments. We have to go and count how many rooms we have so we can know how many spaces we have to have our learning pods once our children are assigned to the classrooms. The cleaning protocols need to be developed and communicated widely so that everybody is using the exact same protocol for the safety of our students and our staff. And we need to look at how are kids going to come to school and leave school, the entrance and exit, or the ingress and the egress. We will be preparing presentations for families on returning to school so that people can sit at home and watch a presentation through the media and see exactly what's going to happen and what they need to be prepared for in sending their children back to school. We will be sending out commitment forms to families on the preference of hybrid, distance, or independent study. And this will be a commitment form so that we know what our numbers are as we're returning students to school. Next slide, please. We really look at student-centered pandemic learning priorities. What have they been? What have they been? And under the guidance and the leadership of the people that are working in the district tirelessly, the assistant superintendents, the directors, the administrators, the teachers, one of the things that we've looked at is the need for tutoring. To develop a platform to help students close the gaps that they're experiencing, and how can we get that tutoring done virtually. During the school year when we are face-to-face, we have different tutoring elements occurring throughout the day and in the afternoons. And to be able to continue that, because we have those needs that are continuing that we've had when we were in face-to-face. And so we have increased our tutors during this time. And it's been at a cost, and we've been willing to take a look at our finances and take a bit of our budget to put toward our tutoring programs to grow them. Our food services department have done a great job of mitigating food insecurity and supplying the food and the meals for the community in Monrovia. In the area of mental health and wellness, again, under the direction of Dr. Catherine Riel, we have counselors, counseling interns, school psychologists in every school, and they're doing a great job of doing reach out to the community, checking in on students that are not attending, checking in on students that seem to be having trouble during class, the referrals from teachers, and these individuals, these professionals are taking a great interest in popping in and connecting with our kids, albeit in a virtual environment. We also have, for students that require more therapeutic work, we have community partners such as DeVille Counseling, Foothill Family Counseling, and Grace Napolitano's Mental Health Consortium have provided some more intensive counseling for students who have needed that. And then we rely on a group called Care Solace that notifies us through social media when they see that they have a presence in social media where they advertise their resources, and parents can call Care Solace to find out, how can I get mental health services for my family or for my child when there's a need. Care Solace is a group that works with anonymity. So when people call, it's not advertised to anyone, but it's a ready phone number on our website for anybody to call and take advantage of. And then we have our professionals doing student wellness checks, virtual and some in-person home visits, because we know that some have required at that upper tier that absolute reach out with a home visit. Next slide, please. Each of our schools has a counseling intern from a university. They have a minimum of one, some have more. The elementary interns have been developing a social hour check-in to engage, motivate, and connect elementary students during distance learning. And so it's a way of helping kids that are feeling disconnected to be able to connect. And the interns are providing extra services to make sure that all students are being reached in elementary, middle, and high school, and all their needs, social needs, grades and attendance, intervention, college apps and financial aid, and one-to-one assistance. Students that are graduating that don't know how to fill out their financial aid paperwork, these interns are there to help with that. At the secondary level, we have social emotional learning Mondays, where the Character Strong curriculum with monthly thematic units have been developed. Weekly seminars are available to address self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. And then also DeVille, one of our partners, holds office hours and additional workshops for parents, students, and teachers. And so we have worked hard to create a palette of services for our families and our students. Part of the SEL, social emotional learning for all students, it is something that was also directed by the Senate bills when COVID hit and the schools received guidance through the legislature. And in their wisdom, they recommended, they did more than recommend, they demanded that schools take a look at the social and emotional learning of all students. So we have curriculum at all levels, including our preschool level. Thank you, and I'm going to now turn it over to Dr. Darvin Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Go ahead, Dr. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser, President Travanti. I'm going to talk a little bit in addition about students' wellness checks. Dr. Monami Lin, our Director of Student Support Services, has worked with site administration and staff to address attendance concerns during the pandemic. Per the state, attendance remains compulsory. However, given the immediate challenges all students and families have faced and continue to face with COVID-19, it's crucial that staff work to address all students' social and emotional welfare. And Dr. Kaiser briefly touched on that with the Monday SEL timeframes. Pandemic-related stressors such as fear and grief may present anxiety for students and causing them not to want to return to school. Addressing these types of issues and others are the first step to resolve them. As such, the district has in place multi-tiered systems of support, or MTSS, for students who are absent. At the Tier 1 level, which is site-based, each site has a student study team comprised of a site administrator, SST coordinator, a counselor, site nurse, school psychologist, as well as a classroom teacher. And they work together along with the families to determine the root causes and to provide support to the student and their family. At the Tier 2 level, the district office representative of the Student Support Services Department works collaboratively with the sites in supporting in absence verifications, logging notes into the area's attendance system, monthly meetings with the site attendance team. Dr. Kaiser mentioned home visits. We're supported by the Monrovia Police Department and our school resource officer and Officer Montez and Dr. Monami Lin, who do those in-person at-home visits. And we also hold the pre-school attendance review board monitoring meetings to provide further assistance to the families. For our most at-risk students at the Tier 3 level, the Student Attendance Review Board focus on students based on the California compulsory education law requiring everyone between the ages of 6 and 18 years of age to attend school. This group meets with the school site administrators and family to discuss, again, the root causes and challenges that continue to focus these students on attendance issues to create a safety net for students with persistent attendance concerns. Next slide. Our special ed director and Jennifer Johnson and her team have worked diligently to create systems of support for our students with special needs. These reflect some of the highlights for ongoing support that is in place for the department and support staff, monthly department meetings, as well as itinerant staff. There are instructional aid weekly meetings held, ongoing trainings for our behavior aides as well. I think most of us know that our paraprofessionals are our right hand to our teachers in serving and supporting our students. During this pandemic, we also discovered pretty early that being able to record our training and information to allow staff to access it was convenient and also provide an additional level of support for them. Next slide. As mentioned earlier, our special ed staff has conducted over 300 in-person assignments. Our behavioral enrichment support team, or BEST team, continues to support our students with behavioral needs on site. We have also implemented distance learning plans through the emergency school closure guidance. This guidance allows us to describe how a child's services can and will be provided during a school closure. Through these plans, we have been able to implement additional accommodations and provide supports that are needed while students are learning from home. Next slide. Our special education department has provided many professional developments as they reflect a few of them, in addition to the critical monitoring supports that were put in place to assist some of our students in need of mental health supports or who are experiencing crisis. The CRT, or Crisis Response Tracking Sheet, is an ongoing data collection that captures any student throughout the district in the past 3 years that are known to have struggles with mental health related concerns, including but not limited to self-mutilation, suicide ideation, hospitalizations, grief, and loss, etc. Our paraprofessionals received a 2-part training on mental health crisis responses and reporting procedures during the pandemic. This training was provided by Beach Cities and facilitated by the Special Education Department. They have also participated in self-care and mindfulness training as well. So there again, a team, our paraprofessionals and our teachers are working together to support our students with special needs. Our special ed subcommittee continues to meet to create more opportunities for additional populations to return to campus for in-person learning. We're currently hoping to focus on returning the adult transition program by spring break or shortly thereafter, again, depending on the reopening guidance. We are also increasing the current student enrollment within the BEST pods and want to explore ways for others to join us as well. Next slide. This slide we wanted to share with the board and community. We've successfully transformed our crisis prevention intervention, also known as CPI training, to liken the hybrid model, allowing all of our staff to stay current and certified with their CPI certifications. And these 2 photos of our staff on the 2-day session, as you can see, are in full PPE. Next slide. We continue to provide our community and staff wellness resources for both STRONG, our special trainings resources opportunities networking group. The recent trainings, as Ms. Johnson indicated, was on gratitude and strength-based parenting. The other group, PATHs, Parents Access to Healing and Supports, focusing on self-care and wellness check-ins with the staff. They also do a Making It Happen bi-weekly segment that is sent out to all staff, because this was the 2021 Special Ed Department phrase that they adopted, and they use these videos to capture staff out there doing amazing things for students and families. They're also using making it happen to highlight outside of the box thinking and teaching, whereby Jen Johnson takes teaching moments or strategies that she's come across while visiting classrooms and is able to highlight those instructional strategies, and then she shares those segments with other staff members. So again, this is reinforcing best practices and sharing of instructional strategies. At the end of each Making It Happen video, they also share staff giving kudos to other staff members. The digital virtual special ed department newsletter is yet another way we've attempted to stay in connection with one another. And then lastly, we reference the CALM page. This is a link, and it provides many links and references for staff and families. Next slide. So Dr. Terosian started our presentation just focusing on some aspects of safety. And so we continue to follow risk reduction strategies for reopening schools, as we do have staff on campus currently. Next slide. Recent reports have shown frequent disinfection can pose a risk to children due to the chemicals used, and proven to have limited effects on COVID transmission, specifically on surfaces. The recommendation is to clean high traffic areas and where a known case has been identified. As a result, desks don't necessarily need to be cleaned daily if used by one individual during the day. However, the custodians with their schedules already set would be able to disinfect at the end of the day. So our focus would still be cleaning daily, but at the end of the day. Next slide. As we prepare to return to school, we will need to provide training on how to wear masks correctly, as well as to remind them to use a clean one. Sounds simple, but again, focusing on the details, ensuring all students and staff remain 6 feet in distancing, washing hands frequently with soap and water, or through the use of sanitizer. Those 2 and under, it should be noted, should not wear a mask, and surgical masks are not recommended in general. Next slide. We've been proactive ensuring classes are well ventilated. During the fall, we've installed the recommended MERV 13 filters, and so we worked with the business department and the maintenance operations and transportation department to ensure that these filters were installed. We're also promoting maintaining doors and windows open, weather permitting. And then again, the cleaning protocols have been in place for some time now, whereby custodians are disinfecting throughout the course of the day. Plexiglass shields have been purchased for high traffic areas where employees are stationed. Touchless water fountains have been installed on all sites. Site admin are in the process of creating these one-way corridors, ingress and egress. Our district nurse has been walking sites since November, December, and working with our site admin to ensure that we are ready to receive our students when we're available to open. We continue to work with our parents and community members. Appointments are available for those that need to visit our campuses. This also reduces the amount of traffic coming to and from and within the schools. Those staff coming to campus daily complete health screenings. We will need to provide training on Parent Square for our parents and staff prior to reopening of schools for the proper procedures to complete that daily health screening as well. Next slide.
Before you continue, because this is really important,
okay.
I have heard a number of, I don't want to use the word complaints, but they weren't happy. is that we overload Parent Square with a lot of information. We're now, this is critical information that we want people to pay attention to. I think it may be in our best interest to remove some of the fluff on Parent Square, things that are not pertinent or timely, so that people will pay attention to the things that we want them to pay attention to. Okay? I think it's critical that we do that. As we're going to be shoving out some very important information, we do not want it competing with less important things.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Final slide, as we continue to focus on a safe, positive working environment, just a few reminders we'll leave you with: maintaining 6 feet distance from anyone outside of your family pod, wear your mask outside of your home, wipe down frequently touched areas. We do have people that visit our cafeterias or staff lounges potentially to just warm up food and things of that nature. We have a minimum of 1 person in at a time. And so the reminder would be that those items that you use, whether it's a microwave or a refrigerator or what have you, wipe those down prior to departing. And then finally, just staying home if you're sick or symptomatic, as we want to keep you as well as all others safe. Dr. Tarosi?
All right.
And that concludes our informational report. I know that it was dense, but you had requested information about some of those wellness checks and how we go back to making sure that our kids are safe. We're constantly refining our processes because we believe that we can always do better.
Thank you, Dr. Tarosian, Dr. Heiser, and Dr. Jackson for your presentation. I'd like to entertain questions from the board, please. Are there any questions? Ms. Golar?
Thank you, Board President Travanti, and thanks for the presentation. You're right, it was quite dense, but vital information, and I am appreciating the exchange of information or the sharing of information that may in fact be repetitious, but I think because things have changed, things are happening in other districts, so people are posing questions and asking questions of us, which by giving the update and repeating the features of our plans and where we are in real time, it's helpful to get that message out to everyone. The only piece I had a follow-up on, 2 things. When we go back to the wellness checks and the work of the counselors and the interns, I'm curious if we have some mechanism of tracking, logging, data collection with regards to the needs, the social emotional needs that are being seen. So there is a process of handling that, but are we tracking that to determine what are the greater needs or the greatest needs or the frequent occurring needs? So that was a question I had. Is there some system of logging, tracking, collecting that data on what's being seen and addressed?
I can respond to that and may need to go back to the counselors to do a follow-up on that for you, Board Member Golar. Every counselor and every counseling intern, they do keep a record of who they see and what the issues are as a point of practice. In terms of collating that information, you make a good point. If we could prioritize what those needs are so that we can be ready to address them. And, you know, it has been done anecdotally. We have not collated that data in the way that you're suggesting, and that would be an excellent next step.
Thank you. And I have one more. When you reviewed, I think Dr. Jackson talked about the MTSS approach in terms of tiering. What is it distributed and exposed to all, some, and few in terms of tier 1, 2, 3? Great, fantastic. Following up on attendance and what are the issues or concerns with regards to attendance. Parallel to that, is there some way of doing the positive reinforcement, right? So yes, we're disclosing and uncovering attendance issues or concerns, but are we still supporting recognition and rewards for those who are achieving a certain level of attendance to support and reinforce the continuation of that? You need both. So do we have a parallel system to honor, recognize, reward, acknowledge good attendance?
We do, and that's been incorporated into our PBIS or
Yes.
behavior intervention and supports model that's been in place here in the district for several years and at all grade levels. I think that's second nature for us. We've been drilling down now on the other side of bolstering our tier 2 and tier 3 supports for our students, as Dr. Kaiser indicated, providing those much needed social, emotional supports, especially in this pandemic, is essential. And it's not just impacting a smaller population. I think it's grown exponentially.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Anderson.
Thank you so much for that very dense report, as well as for your questions, Ms. Golar, because you took some of mine. Dr. Tarosian, can you just clarify the waiver sunsetting, the TK through 2, and why we can no longer apply for a waiver?
Certainly. There was a process about a month ago before the surge, during which schools that had multiple things in place could submit a waiver to be able to open. Those waivers were submitted to the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health for review and for approval. We were working through that process in order to submit a waiver when the surge hit and the conditions changed. They stopped accepting waivers about a month ago. And more like, actually just over a month ago, and about a month ago, said we've sunsetted the program. And from now on, once we determine that it is safe to do so, and again, it's the case rates and the other qualifications, schools will be able to open, or districts will be able to open. It would be up to us to determine whether or not we're ready to open. And our efforts have been focused on making sure that the board has the option by developing a hybrid model and putting all of the safety measures in place so that when the time comes, we are ready.
Thank you. So essentially, the burden of applying for the waiver has been removed, and they're leaving it to because it's sort of blanketed out at this point to the whole community.
Exactly. What they'll do is provide parameters and say, if you meet this criteria, you can open. Okay. And part of it includes, of course, submitting verifications and receiving the go-ahead that conditions allow.
Okay, thank you.
Before we leave that, Ms. Anderson, I know you have another question, but before we leave that, the February 1st date refers to Governor Newsom's plan, which with this plan, only 2 counties in the entire state of California actually qualified to be able to open based on that plan. My understanding is they have gone back to the drawing board. So that's the reference of the February 1st, even though there was that date. Being in LA County and the infection rates that we had, we did not qualify to be able to open based on that proposed plan. Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. If we, Ms. Huff, if you could go back, I want to say it was maybe the very first slide. I'm sorry, it's so far back. With the transmission rates. Thank you. That's the one. So just to make sure I'm understanding this, there were no staff-to-staff transmissions in our learning pods or athletic conditioning programs. However, there were staff-to-staff transmissions in other programs, just on campus, or I think you used the word outside transmission. I just wanted to clarify what you meant by that.
Okay, thank you. The staff-to-staff transmission, those 4 that are reflected here are, within our buildings, staff members. There was a transmission between staff members. The 38 number of positive staff members since August, these are the staff members who regularly come in and have reported to us that they have tested positive for COVID-19. So this does not include, let's say we have 800 staff members. Not all of them come in on a regular basis. Most of them are working from home. Those who have not been in for a month would not be included in this number.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you. And then of those 38 that have tested positive, obviously since January 27th, there's 4 more. Are those the 4 staff to staff? Are they represented in that number?
They are.
Okay. All right. Thank you. With regard to counseling, and this sort of touches on what Mr. Hammond was saying about Parent Square, what are the ways in which we are ensuring our families are informed about these resources? Because they might not be tuning into a board report. And if you're in crisis, that might not be the highest priority. So I'm hoping that there are other means for us to be reaching out. It sounds like there are wellness checks. Is there a way to ensure that we're blanketing this as much as possible, that everybody's aware of the resources, and there's an easy way for them to connect with help and support?
Yes, there are links on the front of our web page, and then in the distance learning portal on the web page, there's a complete counseling section. And so that's one way. If somebody's fishing for help, they can go there. And the biggest way that our families are receiving help is our professionals in our schools, our teachers, administrators, and counselors that are working in the schools are really tuned in right now to recognizing student needs. And Dr. Rial has been doing a lot of training on how to spot students who are in crisis and in need. So there has been more outreach than ever before with our students in terms of spotting kids that are disengaging, and then the teacher's the first line trying to re-engage. And if they're not having success, it goes right to a counselor.
But just to add to that, Board Member Anderson, I believe we can do better. Again, it's about continuous improvement at every level. And we can do better by not only having it on the district website, but on the school websites, making sure that principals are including that information and referring parents and students to the links that are readily accessible, because services like Care Solace are 24/7. You can call at any time and somebody live will answer. We invest in these things because we know they're important, and we want to make sure that our community is taking advantage of those opportunities. So we can go back and redouble our efforts.
Thank you. That's wonderful, because no matter how many times you say it, there's going to be somebody who doesn't need it at that moment and didn't hear it, but needs it the next week. So I appreciate your honesty and transparency and working harder and continuing to double your efforts. DeVille office hours and workshops, are those posted on our school calendars? I know Parent Square has calendars. Is that available?
It's gone out on Parent Square, and it's gone out through the school sites and through Dr. Rial's office. But we'll double check on where else we can post that, because it does need to be put on every calendar, because
Thank you.
are available for all.
I know with the number of with 3 children in MUSD, the number of Parent Square communications I receive, it takes a while to filter back, sometimes to find the specific one. So that might be helpful. So thank you.
And people do like calendars, so we will make sure that that's on a calendar.
And then it's an easy link too, usually, if it's a Zoom call or it just makes it faster. And then last area was the ventilation. I know we've been working a long time on that this summer. I think we were talking about MERV 13 filters, back in July. Have they been installed at all sites, or is that appropriate? Were all sites able to be implemented with MERV 13 filters?
The plan was that every school and every site would have the new filters. My understanding is that they have all been installed. However, it's always important to confirm that, and we'll do that.
Okay, great. And then along with that, if there are, I know there are some classrooms that exist that don't have really a lot of cross ventilation, just by their configuration, that they are sort of podded with other classrooms. Do we have a means to make sure that the ventilation, because we're talking about windows and doors being open, if it feeds into another classroom instead of outside? Maybe you could just talk more about that and let me know how we're handling something like that.
We can come back to that.
Okay.
We'll bring that back. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Tarosian, for the task forces, do we have anyone from CSEA on the task forces? Because I know we have MTA.
Yes,
we do.
Okay. What did I miss it on the slide? Or
no, I didn't put it on the slide. We do have 2 members of CSEA on the task force.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
They double up as parents and others, so that's why it wasn't registering.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lockerbie, did you have a question?
I did. I had a one question is, forgive me for not remembering this slide, but you had mentioned standardized testing as one of the things that happens, that can happen on campus, and it's listed as PSAT and the SAT. Is that when you say standardized testing, does that only mean PSAT and SAT, or could that mean other things?
It also is inclusive of things like the gate testing. We have just gotten the protocol go ahead with Janine that we'll be bringing our elementary children in to do our annual gate testing as parents wish. In terms of the CASP test, which is our large standardized test, that is one that we won't be bringing everyone in at one time to do, and it'll be following the opening protocols. And we're still on, we have not received any information about the CAS test not happening this year. So we're planning on having it happen. Some of it will happen on secure computers in the homes. Some will happen at school. And so we're not exactly sure how that's going to work yet. We're still waiting for more guidance from the county and the state.
And then my last question is just, Dr. Throsian, I'm wondering if you can repeat for clarification for anyone listening there in regards to when we return and how we can return. There was mention of our local jurisdiction, the data and the stats of our local jurisdiction drive whether or not we are able to return. Can you please clarify for those listening what our local jurisdiction means?
The LA County is our local jurisdiction.
So
we start with LA County.
Okay,
so
the stats that are on that side that say that these are the parameters under which we are allowed to return are according to our local jurisdiction, which is Los Angeles County. So it doesn't mean San Gabriel Valley or Monrovia, it's LA County.
Yes, and yes, it absolutely is. And that's the beginning level. Yes.
Okay.
I also just want to take just a moment to ask Dr. Kaiser to confirm. You said some of the CSEA members double up as parents. Do we have any members on your task force who are parents and are not staff members?
Yes, there are many. Our task force has grown. We've got 5 parents, five in each category. And then I have 2 parents that are CSEA members and parents at the same time. And then we have 2 CSEA that have come intermittently.
I simply wanted to clarify that we have a very large group.
It is
and it is as inclusive as possible,
right,
and not trying to double up any particular area.
No, it's big.
Yeah.
Mr. Hammond.
I like to visit that part. When I heard that, I immediately started writing. I think that a person who doubles up, even though I know we have others, I think you look through the lens of your employer and you're going to be less critical of something if you're looking at your employer. I think it's unwise to have people who play dual roles, because you want a person who doesn't agree with you to be able to articulate their disagreement so that we can improve what it is that we're trying to offer, because we're trying to offer it to a vast populace. I just think it's unwise to have people that are dual.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Hammond, and that's why we requested additional folks be added to both the elementary and the secondary task forces that were not carrying that dual role. We expanded it also for one parent per elementary school. Previous to that, I believe we had 2 or 3 parents total. So now we have representation for each school, as well as a teacher for each school. So that was really important, Mr. Hammond, and thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions? All right, thank you. This was a very large report. There was a lot to take in. We do appreciate the time and effort that you put into your presentation and walking away with some good information. All right, we'll move on to consent agenda. Routine items of business placed on the consent agenda have been carefully screened by staff and will be acted upon the board with one motion. And I have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second?
All right, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? We'll move to a vote. Ms. Lockerbie?
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Lockerbie.
The item that was it removed from consent?
No, it was an agenda item.
Okay, then never mind.
Okay, we'll move on to the vote. Thank you, Ms. Huff.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Golar,
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie,
Yes.
Board Member Hammond,
Yes.
Board President Travanti.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Huff. And for those following the agenda at home, we are moving to the action items. First action item J, business services, memorandum of understanding between Monrovia Unified School District and the secondary school affiliated to, and I apologize if I don't pronounce this right, but Gwangju University for the California Monrovia High School International Program. I'll turn this over to Ms. Wu for her presentation.
Good evening, President Ms. Travanti, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Tarosian, Cabinet, staff, and communities. The Business Service Department submitted the MOU between the Monrovia Unified School District and the secondary school affiliated to Gwangju University to enter the MOU for the International Students Program. As board recall that Monrovia Unified School District has an international students program for a couple of years. During this time, Monrovia has accepted students under the F1 visa from Germany, Sweden, Vietnam, and China. So we also accept students for short-term cultural exchange to bring them in the classroom for 1 week or 2 weeks. Monrovia High School, as well as the Clifton, has become a training ground for the principals and English teachers from China. And we also offer the teachers, send the teachers go to China during the summer to training their English teachers in their background. We also sponsor the International Students Forum and invite the international students, international principals visit our various high schools. So in a certain way, a lot of public agencies in China know where is Monrovia USD, where is Monrovia High School located, and its beautiful campus. So the advantage is this program also will help us to address the continued decline enrollment, and the decline enrollment is become a norm in the state of California. This week, the CalMaster has reported during the COVID-19, the public K-12 school in the entire California, we lost 155,000 students. The report also predicted that in the future, the state of California public school will be continuing to decline at a 7% rate. So also this program has provide opportunity for support our dual majoring program, both at Plymouth and future to move to the Santa Fe, and as well as the high school. Our high school has the dual Mandarin programs electives. Next slide, please. What kind of program under this MOU? Basically, it is a collective program. This program will allow the students who spend the early of their high school in China, and then most likely spend the last year of high school in Monrovia High School, so that eventually will help those students prepare to move to the United States higher education, including university and colleges. The students come here, they are under the F1 visa, which is one of the visa recognized, sponsored by the Immigration Office. After successfully finishes program, the student will receive the high school diploma both in China as well as the high school. And during the time the students stay in China, their instruction and curriculum will be approved and reviewed annually by the MUSD teachers and administrators, and then the cost for such a visit will be covered. And the students, during the students in the United States, our district will be responsible for make sure that the kids have their progress is closely monitored. Next slide, please. There's a specific rule and regulation governing the students under the F1 visa. The district, in order to become a F1 visa student sponsor, we will go through a lot of trainings, especially our superintendent, Dr. Torresian, as well as me. We need to go through some certification training program, and then our school, in order to be responsible for the visa, we will go through the certification and initial visit from the immigration office. So before the students admit to the Monrovia High School, they will demonstrate their English proficiency. They will meet their academic and immunization, as well as the financial support requirement. And after they meet our requirement, and then the district will issue the paperwork for the students to apply for the visa in China. And the students, they were select to live their relatives, friends in town or neighborhood in San Gabriel Valley. So for those students we had before, they live, almost all of them either live with their relatives as well as their friends. And we have short-term program for those students come to the Monrovia visit for 1 to 2 weeks. They all live in the local hosting families. So that again, the district was responsible for make sure that the students will attend school on daily basis, and their physical and emotional health is while they are on our campus. The tuition is calculated based on state and federal regulation, and they have to be commutable with the unsubsidized cost of high school at our school. What we did is we calculated that, and the board approved that the prior rate is we charge the students on $16,000 per school year, and plus the $500 refundable textbook fee. Those costs and the fee will be adjusted annually, depend on how cost how much cost the Monrovia Unified School District will pay for our kids. So initially, when we calculate this dollar amount, we're also including all the general fund costs. So just give the board some idea what this $16,000 come from. So the students who has been finished this program, we have a very positive experience and positive response from the families. And I will, as I close my presentation, I will read an email I received for one of our first F1 students program who come from Germany. So the father, he also a PhD doctor at Germany. Here's what he wrote to me. Say, dear Connie, with a little delay, I would like to thank you. Hannah arrived safely on Sunday, and we were also happy to be united again. Hannah had such a great time at the Monrovia High School, and that is very much because of your help and support. We all would like to thank you for that, and we do not take granted, and would like to express our appreciation for all the effort you put into Hannah's plan to stay in your school. We hope that your commitment is well appreciated at Monrovia High School. Hannah had such great time in Monrovia, and I would like to offer to you and you can use this act as a reference if your school needs something like that. If exchange students would like to get some firsthand information about process, application, and the state self, Hannah and we would more happy to provide such information. And as I said, we're all happy that Hannah is back home, but we are also same time a little bit sad for Hannah because her stay has passed in the end so quickly. And Hannah, her aunts who she spent time living with while she was in Monrovia, her aunts shared with me that right after Hannah arrived in Monrovia, she does not like math when she was in German high school. So because she really liked the math teacher in Monrovia High School, so she began to learn like math. And after she back to Germany, her math score has increased tremendously. So the family is very happy. We also have a family who have a elder boy and a young boy. The elder boy come here have 12 years, 12th grade, and he was so impressed with the support he was received from teachers and counselor at Monrovia High School. So after he left Monrovia High School, move on his college, and the family actually sent the young brother come to Monrovia High School. So I believe the brother still in our high school because the family did eventually receive the permanency of the resident in United States, and they have a relative in Monrovia. So the brother, I'm studying I believe 10th grade last year. So we do have a lot of success story, and I would like to answer any question that any board may have regarding this program.
Questions for Ms. Wu, please? Okay, I'm not sure who went up first. Ms. Lockerbie?
Go ahead, Tracy. Go ahead. Okay.
You go on.
All right. Thank you. So while we're on this slide, this bullet that says students pay to, by the way, thank you, Ms. Wu, for your presentation. I'm sorry. Students will pay tuition fee of $16,000. Is that what the student's family pays the district, or is that what their ADA is?
That is the under the F1 students visa, the students pay of course, students' family pay the tuition to the district, and the district will not claim ADA from the state. If we do, we call double dipping. So,
okay.
So yes, when we submit an ADA number to the state, we will not including those F1 students.
Okay, but if this student comes, does this student take a Monrovia student's place? Does that displace a Monrovia student?
No, because our students are always a priority. If the district do not have a capacity in regard of facility, then we will not enroll international students. There's
Okay.
no competition.
Okay, but since we have historically had declining enrollment, this is going to, there would be capacity.
That's correct. And right now, as the board know that almost all our campus has capacity from elementary school to high school.
And then this $16,000 and then the textbook $500, does that include, is that all the money that they're going to spend at the school?
The answer is no. As board, you know that this is only including the tuition, textbook, as well as ASB. If the students would like to go to our cafeteria to have a meal, then the students will pay $350 as a paid meal students. So this will be also help our food service program earn additional revenue by the students have a meal in our school.
Okay. Now, in the first slide, Ms. Huck, would you mind going back a slide? That one is perfect. Thank you so much. Now I see historically Germany, Sweden, Vietnam, and China here. And you have mentioned that this is going to, the relationship, this MOU with the secondary school in China will help support our Mandarin dual immersion program, which will help support Plymouth, eventually Santa Fe, and eventually Monrovia High School. Can this program be expanded to Spanish, to a relationship with Spanish speaking countries as well?
Yes, definitely. So, I'm glad that you mentioned this. I will work on that. It's just the Chinese program is it's my nature, so it's easy for me to pick up. But I do will keep my eyes open. I'm trying to get connected for any not only a Hispanic speaking high school, even if any school for example, in Germany, in UK and Sweden, and any school. Or one time we are talking about have a connection with school in France, because we have French classes in high school, and our kids did have a future to France. So we are also talk about any opportunity to connect because we are. It's my personal view that we're not educate American kids, German kids, Chinese kids. We're educate global kids, and our logo is world class school for world class students. And I'm pretty sure that we're working on that logo, and our logo will not change.
I appreciate the way that you are always thinking about benefiting our children's, benefiting our district, and doing whatever you can to help increase enrollment and make sure that our programs and our personnel are as secure as you can make them, and thinking outside of the box. I appreciate that you're taking your global knowledge and applying it here to our students here in Monrovia. I really just can't thank you enough for the way that you think outside the box and always for our Monrovia community. Thank you for your time and the way that you think. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you say it, because as we all know that without the board support, without Superintendent Dr. Torrance's support, me myself, I can't going nowhere, as well as the support from cabinet members. So it is actually the teamwork. And from that, I thank all of you.
Thank you. Ms. Golar had a question.
Thank you. Okay, I got a little confused from this slide that shows 10th to possibly 12th grade. And I think the next slide speaks to senior year. Yeah, there it is. The first bullet, typically students would spend their senior year. But then there was some mention of students who are here for a few weeks. So I got confused between you kind of gave us I guess a general picture of foreign exchange students and visitors, and then there's specifically the requirements of this program. Is that where I got lost?
Yes, because I think there's two. I may apologize if I speak too quickly. So yes, you are not confused because we have so many programs.
Okay.
Okay. Everything you said is correct. Okay. So let me just one by one. So the first slides, I basically provide background information for our board, for our communities. So starting after we created international students program, our program, we have a lot of activity. Our program is not focused on one activity. Only F1 students. F1 students, for those students come to the United States public school, any public school for 1 year. Okay. So those students, they can pick from any high school, which is a grade 9 to 12. That is the authorization the immigration office gave to Monrovia Unified School District. Any grade, but 1 year. Okay. So we also have a short-term program. Short-term program is including those kids come to Monrovia for 1 week or 2 weeks. During the 1 week, they will go to our elementary school classes for 5 kids and stay in the classes, have same teachers for 1 week. And then second week, they go to the field trip for different area in Los Angeles. So that is another program. So the MOU, under MOU program, this is the conceptual framework. The kids can pick up any grade. They can decide come here at grade 9, 10, 11, 12, and we will prefer them to come here 12th grade. Here's the reason why. For those kids who want to move to undergraduate program at any university and college in the United States, come to Monrovia at 12th grade have advantages because we have a lot of rich resources. Our counselor, they are very familiar our college and the university application. That is a rich resource for them, and it is also advantage for those Chinese students who apply to United States, U.S. college university in the United States ground as well as in China. So if the depend on kids their ultimate education goal, we will recommend for those kids if they want to go to the university and the college here, then we will recommend them to come here at the 12th grade. But for those kids, only for the culture learning, they just want to know, just like the example I gave the board for the Hannah from Germany. Their pure goal just culture enrichment. They want the family, the parents want kids to know what is the American high school looks like. Then they can come for any grade between 9 to 12.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, sorry, it's confusing.
No, it was me. But in that case, if they are able to be here that year, that may be in 9th or 11th grade, how does that impact the testing that occurs at the high school at 9th and 11th grade in terms of they're there for a year? Are they exempt from our state testing or not?
My thoughts is no, they should, because once they come to the United States, we will treat them as our own kids. So all the testing they should go through. I think that's all their parents want to, because they want us treat them as our own students. And you have raised a good question. But the only thing I know that those kids, before they send the application, we will do the English language proficiency. Yes. So we will make sure that their language will be at a certain level, and we also provide them the options. Okay. So, board, you know that we have a Canyon Open and a Mountain Park. They will provide one-to-one instruction when we're back to normal. So we have a different option, and we basically, based on the kids, their academic English proficiency background, we will provide a different option. But we will definitely we will make sure that when they landing in California, we already know their English proficiency.
And this MOU is intended to go into effect this academic year or 2022-23?
Our goal is we'll not enroll any students until 22-23 school year.
Okay.
Our plan is after COVID-19 far behind us, because I'm pretty sure the Chinese family, they will have a concern too if the pandemic is still there.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Wu?
So if the pandemic is still ongoing, it's not going to happen.
It will not going to happen. If board may allow me share my thoughts, it will not happen that the kids will not landing here. It can happen that we will online instruction.
But physically, so we're not going to bring, I mean, if we're not bringing our own students, we're not going to bring any students from outside.
Yes, the physically they may not in MUSD campus, but with board approval, we can virtually in MHS campus.
Oh, okay. Were there any other questions before? I had a couple of questions, but okay. Ms. Wu, so along those lines, so what you're saying then, let's say, and this is just a hypothetical, but let's say we start the new school year still in distance learning, and the board approved this MOU. That means with the new school year, we potentially could have students through this agreement.
No, that's not our plan.
Okay.
So by board approve this MOU, it will allow our partner in China starting working in their part. They're going to their work use this MOU, get permission from their county office education, because they need this MOU basically allow them apply. My guessing, I have not confirmed. Apply some financial support from their county office education to support their program. As you can see from MOU, they try to remodel their facility. They try to build a library just specifically for their international students program. So it doesn't mean that the kids will come in next school year. And we also have a lot of work to do, because we make sure that this program will allow the kids who earn high school credit in China, allow them to transfer to MHS. So because of that, we as the MUSD, we make sure that the district will accept those credits they earn in China. So there's a lot of work behind the scene we need to do before the kids come to our school here.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wu. And along the lines of the housing, I know our students are bound to boundaries, our district boundaries. So if they happen to have a relative or a host family that lives outside of our boundaries, let's say, for example, Arcadia, that would be okay.
Yes, because remember that's right, because it is a little bit different from our own kids. Those kids is in the paid status. We sponsor them. Their visa, the reason they are in the United States because Monrovia sponsor them, so they can live in Arizona if they want to drive here every day. Because the reason is we are sponsor their visa to the United States.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is, because I didn't see that anywhere in the MOU, but is there an agreement for a specific number of students that will be part of this program? I know the dollar amount is approximately 16,000. If we had 10 students as part of this program, we're looking at $160,000 in tuition. Is there a number? Am I missing that?
No, Mrs. Travanti, we have not have number yet. Okay, so the reason is we may not have enough capacity for that school. So this MOU allow the district have a stabilized international students on the annual basis. So we don't need it is consolidated of our marketing effort to adjust decline enrollment. We don't need to go to everywhere to grab the kids. The one kids there, when they will streamline the number of students they can come to MHS. But my thoughts is once we have a contractual agreement, the board can provide me guideline, or can write down decision how many students annually we can accept it. But my thoughts is we were not able to absorb all their graduates because that school have 4,000 students, and their demand is huge.
All right, so it's still based on our capacity.
That's correct. The board can direct me and how many students the board decide accept each year.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Lockerbie?
Sorry. Connie, we've talked about capacity. I want to know if you're able to elaborate on what capacity means. So let's say the physical capacity of students at MHS is 1,400 students, and we've got 1,350. So there's capacity for 50 more bodies. I want to know if that capacity, if you are also considering the capacity of the classrooms. So if there's one AP bio class, I'm just making things up here. If there's one AP bio class that will hold 30 students, can we put 30 international students in that class without over taking priority of our students?
So I think Mr. Lockerbie, you hit the nail. The capacity can be interpreted two ways. One is the facility capacity, which means that our MHS campus, how many students, including the international students, how many students that campus can have. You also mentioned that class capacity. So I think our students should be always the priority. So we also have the bargaining union contract agreement. So the class size. So yes, our students are always priority. But however, because the students from China, they pay the tuition, this will give us the district additional financial resource to hire additional staff.
I just wanted to verify the total concept of capacity.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
that's correct. Yes, our students should be always a priority. And the second, that if the time comes that certain classes is exceeding our contractual number of students, and then because of our financial resource from this program, then we can basically hire additional teachers for the program.
Thank you.
Anything else for Ms. Wu? Oh, Ms. Golar.
Sorry, is this the first time we've entered an MOU with this particular university in China, or is this a renewal?
And so I'm glad you asked this question. And the question is yes or no. This is the first time we enter such a program with that part of China with that school. We had back to May 23rd, 2018, the Board of Education also approved MOU with one of the Chinese County of Education in other province, in other part of China. So yeah, because for whatever reason, the program was unable to grow as it planned.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Ms. Wu, for your presentation and all the information answering our many questions. We want to make sure we had full knowledge of this program and how it's going to work. So I'll entertain a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, Ms. Huff, can you call the roll, please?
Board Member Golar,
Yes, I'm a little conflicted, but yes.
Board Member Lockerbie,
Yes.
Board Member Hammond,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board President Travanti.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Huff. And we'll move on to, and thank you, Ms. Wu. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is board discussion on superintendent search. So we'll start that conversation on the next steps on selecting a superintendent. So let's go ahead and talk about those steps. Dr. Tarosian, I don't know if you wanted to lead the conversation or just leave it up to us.
This is a great opportunity for the board to determine what exploratory steps we might be able to take in order for us to take some concrete steps forward as an action item during our next board meeting. So in terms of process or procedure.
So what we want to do is talk about the possibility of looking into an executive search firm, and just to find out more information on the search firms, what the terms would be, what they would do for us if we should go that route. I believe Dr. Tarosian has a list already of firms that we can that she can tap into if the board so chooses to go that route and explore the idea. Obviously, we can't make an informed decision without exploring the idea. So, any discussion, questions? Ms. Anderson.
I would be in favor of hearing more about the search opportunities if we have different avenues in front of us before I would feel comfortable making a decision moving forward. I would like to know as much about each pathway presented to us before moving forward on such an important decision.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Mr. Hammond?
I would think that the only reason that we would not use a search firm is because of financial reasons. It would absolutely make no sense to be penny wise and pound foolish by not being able to throw our net as wide as possible to see who the best qualified candidate is for this job. I think if we don't use a search firm, then our net would be cast in a much more narrow manner, and we would not possibly see a candidate that might help change our district and lead it in a direction that would be beneficial to us. I've participated in this process before, and the fact is you want to be able to receive people from all walks of life that have had many different experiences so that they can bring what they have learned to us and benefit us. And because of that, I think that it would be wise to use a search firm.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Dr. Tarosian, I would be interested in exploring the idea of the search firm, and with the list that you have, I would be specifically want to know or have a good variety of search firms that have experience with dealing with smaller districts, small communities like Monrovia, Southern California experience, and then a firm that has even a larger regional, maybe state access and experience. So those would be my thoughts there. Any other thoughts? So what I do want to confirm with the board, though, do we make Dr. Tarosian that person to do that initial legwork for us, for the board?
I think it would make sense. I think she enjoys the confidence of the board, and because I know that Dr. Tarosian will be working as hard the last day that she works here, as hard as she did the first day, I trust that she wants to see us succeed as well. So there'd be no reason for us not to trust her to do this.
Mr. Hammond, thank you for saying that way. I absolutely agree. And I'm so appreciative of you for putting that out there.
Are we in agreement there then? Do we have consensus on the board? Okay.
The agreement, to be clear, is to have Dr. Therosian provide us with a group of search firms that we can research and come to the next board meeting with further ideas on how we would proceed. Is that correct?
Yes, but I think it goes beyond just providing us the name of the firms. She would actually reach out to them. Is that my understanding, Dr. Therosian? You would do that initial contact exploratory work?
Absolutely. And provide information and try and develop a list of consistent questions, costs, processes to see what it's like, and then bring those to you for you to make those next steps. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you for your help.
Absolutely. And is the next board meeting sufficient time to accomplish that? Or, I mean, do you need a little more time? I want to be cognizant of everything else that's going on.
I also think that it's in Monrovia's best interest for me to work as quickly as possible. And so it is definitely time consuming, but if we are to do this well and make sure that Monrovia Unified is positioned in the best possible way, I need to look.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Therosian. Appreciate that. So then we look forward to that report. Does that conclude our discussion? Are we good? All right. Excellent. Then we will move on to pending board issues. Dr. Therosian?
During our last board meeting, I'd noted that we would be making a few just adjustments to those pending board issues, and those have been made.
And then under old business, we do have our next scheduled board meetings for February 24th, March 10th, and March 24th. That's all at 7:00 p.m. And under new business, we do have some open houses that are already scheduled. Santa Fe will be March 3rd through the 4th. Clifton Middle School will be March 22nd through the 23rd. Canyon Oaks High School and Mountain Park will be March 24th and 25th. And our Canyon Early Learning Center will be March 25th. So I'm sure as you receive more dates, we'll be placing them on the calendar here. Other dates to be aware of: the board workshop is this Friday. President's Day, all sites will be closed February 15th. And in observance of the legal holiday, all sites will be closed February 22nd. In closing, we would like to close tonight's meeting in memory of Hector Elizalde. He was the Deputy District Director to Congresswoman Grace Napolitano. Hector passed away earlier this week from complications of COVID. He served as the Deputy District Director in contact for the Congresswoman, and we had a lot of interaction here in the district. He attended many of our district events, including our State of the Schools address, various board meetings, and worked with the district on many efforts to support Monrovia Unified students on behalf of Grace Napolitano. He was always a gentleman, consummate professional, and was a resident here of Monrovia. In a statement provided by Congresswoman Napolitano, she wrote the following: "We have lost a true champion for veterans, a dear friend, a wonderful employee and a colleague, and a dedicated, caring gentleman in Hector Elizalde. For the past nearly 11 years, he was truly devoted to his job of defending, advocating for, and serving veterans and their families and tackling any problems that came his way. Since his passing, the outpouring from people whose lives he touched has been immeasurable because he was a true believer in public service. A sharp dresser, but very humble individual, he didn't seek or want praise. He was there for everybody. He served not only the people of the 32nd District, but all of LA County as chair of the Los Angeles County Veterans Advisory Commission. He truly loved and was proud of his family, especially his grandchildren. He was kind, thoughtful, and helpful to everyone he met. His laughter and the way he cared for others will forever live on in our memories. From the bottom of our hearts, we express our deepest condolences to Hector's family, friends, and all who mourn with us. It was an honor to serve alongside him and know him. We will deeply miss him. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Elizalde family during this time. I adjourn this meeting at 9:29 p.m. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night.
Night, you guys.